Again, during the session, always please make sure that you stay muted and the video is disabled unless asked to. If you need to talk, please use the raise hand option in the Zoom platform, which you can find in the bottom of the Zoom software. And as well as you can direct your messages via the chat option. So one of our members, team members will be attending and the resource person as well. They will receive in the messages in the chat box and box in separately. And also please be mindful that questions and comments posted here are general. So please mindful about the content and the language of the messages that you are posting. සැම විටම ඔබගේ මයික්‍රොෆෝනය සහ වීඩියෝ ක්‍රියාවිරහිත කර තබා ගන්න අදහස් ප්‍රකාශ කිරීමට අවස්ථාව ලබා ගැනීම සඳහා Zoomහි raise hand අවස්ථාව උපයෝගී කරගන්න. ඒ වගේම අදහස් යොමු කිරීම සඳහා chat අවස්ථාව යොදා ගන්න පුළුවන්. chat අවස්ථාවේදී අදහස් යොමු කිරීමේදී අන්තර්ගතය සහ අදහස් පිළිබඳව සැලකිලිමත් වන්න. Again, during the 10th and 11:15 break, you will be divided into group interactive sessions. So these rules will be reminded again when you are at the interactive session. So please remember your room number when you are assigned to a room, and also don't leave the room before the session ends, because if you leave a room before the session ends, that you will be redirected to the main session, which might where you might feel difficulties joining the same room again. So therefore, please remember the room number that you are assigned to at the group interactive session, and then please don't leave the room before it ends. කණ්ඩායම් ක්‍රියාකාරකම් අවස්ථාවේදී 10 සිට 11:15 දක්වා තමන්ගේ කණ්ඩායමේ අංකය මතකයේ තබා ගන්න. ඒ වගේම කණ්ඩායම් ක්‍රියාකාරකම් අවසන් වනතුරු කණ්ඩායමේ රැඳී සිටින්න. කණ්ඩායම් ක්‍රියාකාරකම් නැවත සම්බන්ධ වීම අපහසු බවත් ක්‍රියාකාරකම් අවසන් වූ පසු නැවත ප්‍රධාන වැඩසටහන් යොමු වෙන බවත් මතකයේ තබා ගන්න. So finally, please avoid talking about politics, about promoting business and personal matters. So it's a common general platform for everyone. So please be dressed appropriately when you're turning on your video and speaking to the gathering, as well as please be respectful for other participants and their ideas. සම්පිටම අන්නගේ අදහස් ගරුකොට සලකන්න, පෞද්ගලික දේශපාලන සහ ව්‍යාපාරික අදහස් පරිහරණයේදී සැලකිලිමත් වන්න. ඒ වගේම වීඩියෝ අවස්ථාව භාවිතයේදී තමන්ගේ ඇඳුම් පිළිබඳ සැලකිලිමත් වන්න. So wish you all the very best, enjoy the session and have a great day. Thank you, Latisha, over to you.
Thank you, Srimali. Now I cordially invite Planner Jude Prasanna to deliver it in Tamil language.
Thank you, Ludisha. அனைவருக்கும் காலை வணக்கம். முதலாவதாக இன்றைய நிகழ்வுக்கு உங்கள் அனைவரையும் வரவேற்று நிற்கின்றோம். அந்த வகையில் இன்றைய நிகழ்வினுடைய சில வழிகாட்டுகளை உங்களை தமிழிலே வழங்கலாம் என்று நினைக்கிறேன். முதலாவதாக டிவைஸ் செட்டிங், அதாவது நீங்கள் பயன்படுத்துகின்ற இந்த லேப்டாப்போ ஐபேடோ ஃபோன் எந்த ஒரு உபகரணமாக இருந்தாலும் அதனை முழுமையாக சார்ஜ் பண்ணப்பட்டிருக்கிறா என்பதை முதலாவதாக உறுதிப்படுத்திக் கொள்ளுங்கள். அடுத்ததாக உங்களுடைய மைக், நீங்கள் கதைக்கிறது மற்றவர்களுக்கு விளங்குதா, அதே போல் உங்களுடைய வீடியோ பார்க்கக்கூடிய மாதிரி இருக்கிறா என்பதை செக் பண்ணி கொள்ளுங்கள். மூன்றாவதாக உங்களுடைய இன்டர்நெட் கனெக்ஷன் இந்த நிகழ்வு முடியும் வரைக்கும் பயன்படுத்தக்கூடியதாக இருக்கிறதா என்பதை உறுதிப்படுத்திக் கொள்ளுங்கள். நெக்ஸ்ட் ஸ்லைட். கிரவுண்ட் ரூல்ஸ். இந்த நிகழ்வு நடைபெறுகின்ற பொழுது நீங்கள் இருக்கின்ற இடம் அமைதியான இடமாக இருக்கிறதா என்பதை உறுதிப்படுத்திக் கொள்ளுங்கள். குழப்பங்கள் ஏற்படாத வகையில், சத்தங்கள் ஏற்படாத வகையில் அமைதியான இடத்திலே நீங்கள் இருக்கிறீர்களா என்பதை உறுதிப்படுத்திக் கொள்ளுங்கள். அடுத்தது முக்கியமான விடயம் உங்களுடைய பெயரை சரியான முறையிலே மாற்றிக்கொள்ளுங்கள். அதே போல உங்களுடைய பெயருக்கு பக்கத்துல உங்களுடைய உறுப்பினர் இலக்கத்தினை சரியான முறையிலே போட்டுக்கொள்ளுங்கள். ஆகவே இந்த நிகழ்வினை நடத்துகின்றவர்களுக்கு இந்த நிகழ்வில் இணைந்திருப்பவர் யார் என்பதை உறுதிப்படுத்திக் கொள்ளக்கூடியதாக இருக்கும். இப்போ இதில் உதாரணம் காட்டப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. அந்த Zoom ஜூமில் போய் உங்களுடைய வலது கை பக்கத்திலே மேலே போனீங்களான்னு சொன்னால் உங்களுடைய பார்ட்டிசிபென்ட் லிஸ்ட்ல உங்களுடைய பேருக்கு பக்கத்தில் அன்மியூட் மோர்ன்ற ஒரு 2 ஆப்ஷன் இருக்கு. அதில் போய் நீங்கள் ரீநேம் பண்ணிக்கொள்ளலாம். உங்களுடைய பேரை நீங்கள் மாற்றிக்கொள்ளலாம். பேரையும் மாற்றிக்கொண்டு அதிலே உங்களுடைய உறுப்பினர் இலக்கத்தையும் அதிலே டைப் பண்ணிக்கொள்ளுங்கள். அடுத்த விஷயம் வந்து இங்க இந்த நிகழ்வினை நடத்தி கொண்டிருக்கிறவர்கள் வேண்டிக் கொள்ளும் வரை உங்களுடைய பேசுகின்ற உபகரணத்தை மியூட் பண்ணி வச்சிருக்கோம். அதாவது சத்தம் பெறாத வகையிலே மைக்கை வந்து ஆஃப் பண்ணி வச்சிருக்கோம். கேட்டுக்கொள்ளப்படுகின்ற நேரத்தில் மட்டும் உங்களுடைய மைக்கினை ஆன் பண்ணி கதைச்சு கொள்ளலாம். அதே போல வந்து உங்களுடைய வீடியோ தொழில்நுட்பத்தினையும் ஏழுமான வரை நிறுத்தி வைத்துக் கொள்ளவும். கேட்கின்ற பொழுது மாத்திரம் அதனை ஆன் பண்ணிக்கொள்ளவும். உங்களுக்கு ஏதாவது கேள்விகள் கேட்க வேண்டிய நிலைமை ஏற்படுமாக இருந்தால் நீங்கள் அந்த ரைஸ் ஹேண்ட் என்ற ஒரு ஆப்ஷன் ஒன்று இருக்கிறது. அந்த ஜூம்ல ரைஸ் ஹேண்ட் என்ற ஆப்ஷன்ல போய் அந்த ரைஸ் ஹேண்டை நீங்கள் கிளிக் பண்ணி கொண்டால் நாங்கள் வழங்கிக் கொள்ளக்கூடியதாக இருக்கும். அந்த குறிப்பிட்டவருக்கு ஒரு கேள்வி கேட்கக்கூடிய நிலைமை ஒன்று இருக்கிறேன்னு சொல்லி. அதே போல வந்து நீங்கள் செட் ஆப்ஷன்ல போய் உங்களுக்கு அது கேள்விகள் இருக்குமாக இருந்தால் நீங்கள் அதனை டைப் பண்ணி கொள்ளலாம். அதே போல வந்து நீங்கள் கேட்கின்ற கேள்விகளை மிகவும் அவதானமாக கேட்கும்படியாக கேட்கப்படுகின்றார்கள். அது தனிப்பட்ட ரீதியான கேள்விகள் இல்லாமல், அரசியல் ரீதியான கேள்விகள் இல்லாமல் கேட்கின்ற கேள்விகளை மிகவும் அவதானத்துடன் கேட்குமாறு கேட்கொள்ளுங்கள். இது வந்து ஒரு பொதுவான நிகழ்வு என்றபடியினால் கேள்விகளை மிகவும் அவதானத்துடன் கேட்குமாறு கேட்டுக்கொள்ளப்படுகின்றார்கள். அது அடுத்த ஒரு முக்கியமான விடயம் வந்து நாங்கள் இந்த 10 மணி தொடக்கம் 11:15 மணி வரையான நேரத்திலே வந்து ஒரு குழு ரீதியான செயற்பாடு குரூப் டிஸ்கஷன். அந்த நேரத்தில் வந்து பங்கு பெற்றுகின்றவர்கள் 3 குழுக்களாக பிரிக்கப்படுவார்கள். குரூப் 1, குரூப் 2, குரூப் 3 என்று. அந்த நேரத்தில் நீங்கள் எந்த குரூப்பிலே இருக்கிறீர்கள் என்பதை குறித்து வைத்துக் கொள்ளுங்கள். அதில் ஒரு சின்ன பிரச்சனை இருக்குன்னு சொன்னால், நீங்கள் குரூப் குழு செயற்பாட்டில் ஈடுபட்டிருக்கின்ற பொழுது தவறுதலாக அந்த குரூப்பை விட்டு வெளியேற வேண்டிய நிலைமை ஏற்பட்டால் அங்கே கீழே காட்டப்பட்டிருக்கின்ற டூ நாட் லீவ் த ரூம் வந்து படத்திலே அந்த குரூப்பை விட்டு நீங்கள் வெளியேறுவீர்களாக இருந்தால் மறுபடியும் உள்ளே வருகின்ற பொழுது நீங்கள் எந்த குழுவில் இருந்தீர்கள் என்பதை ஞாபகத்திலே வைத்திருக்க வேண்டும். இல்லை என்று சொன்னால் நீங்கள் அந்த தொடர்ச்சியாக அதிலே பங்கு பெற்ற முடியாத நிலைமை ஏற்படும். ஆகவே தயவு செய்து உங்களுடைய குரூப்பாக பிரிக்கின்ற பொழுது நீங்கள் எந்த குரூப்பிலே குரூப் 1 என்றால் ரூம் 1, குரூப் 2 என்றால் ரூம் 2, குரூப் 3 என்றால் ரூம் 3 என்று அதில் உதாரணம் காட்டப்பட்டிருக்கிறது. எந்த குரூப்பில் இருக்கிறீர்கள் என்பதை குறித்து வைத்துக் கொள்ளுங்கள். ஆகவே தவறுதலாக நீங்கள் குரூப்பை விட்டு வெளியேற வேண்டிய நிலைமை ஏற்பட்டால் மறுபடியும் இணைகின்ற பொழுது உங்களுக்கு அது இலகுவாக இருக்கும். ஓகே, நெக்ஸ்ட். ஓகே, ஆகவே நாங்கள் நினைக்கிறோம் நிகழ்வு மிகவும் சிறப்பானதாக அமையும் என்பதை நாங்கள் நினைக்கிறோம். உங்கள் அனைவரையும் மீண்டும் உங்கள் அனைவரையும் இந்த நிகழ்வுக்கு வரவேற்று நிற்கின்றோம். சிறப்பான முறையில் இந்த நிகழ்வு நடைபெறும் என்று எதிர்பார்க்கிறோம். தேங்க்யூ.
All right. Okay, thank you very much, Plnr Jude, for giving the guidelines. So it's great to see we have more than 200 participants right at more than 220 participants right at the moment in the annual session. So with this number of participants, we had to upgrade our Zoom package, so that took us extra 15 to 20 minutes to start the session. So we apologize for the inconvenience caused. Anyway, even though we are 30 minutes late in the session, don't worry, we'll continue the session as we planned earlier. All right. So now we are about to move on to the welcome speech of the session.
Yes, Sahan. Now with that, with all due respect, I cordially invite the President of the Institute of Town Planners, Sri Lanka, Plnr, Professor Jagat Purasinghe, to deliver the welcome remark. Professor Jagat, the platform is all yours.
Thank you, Ludisha. And very good morning to all of you, the fellow members, corporate members, associate members, and student members, and also the invitees. So let me start with the theme of this session. Okay, we said where we are and where we want to be. So all of you can sense where we are now. We are in our own premises, our own building, even though it's half done under unfinished conditions. It's the first ever session that this institute, ITPSL, is conducting its annual session in its own premises. So in a way, this is a dream come true. Of course, we have our own premises and we are going to have these sessions and also our events in our own premises. So where we want to be, of course, we can think about a complete building with all luxury finishes and furniture furnished and all members gathered in one place in future after we come back to normal, passing these difficult times that we are going through. So we can imagine of that situation first. So that is the first thing that I want to tell you. The second thing is that as a practice, where we want to be. We all know that town planning in Sri Lanka today, of course, I would say it's not that star class, but still we have certain improvements and we have a lot of added things in the practice, and our members are well updated with a lot of knowledge and skills as well. But there's a lot more to be done. So in the CPDs, all the annual sessions and different sessions that we had throughout the year. So our intention was to make sure that our planners, the members of this institute, will gather knowledge and will be acquiring more skills towards the advancement of the practice of town planning in Sri Lanka. So we have been having sessions usually every year, and we have been conducting CPDs as well. And we have been getting the well-known speakers, some practitioners, both from the planning area of planning and also from the other areas of knowledge as well. And we got enlightened and we got a lot of knowledge that is shared by them. So all that is fine. But when we look back and in retrospect, we found that the net gain is, of course, we can be, not that we can't be happy about it, it's okay, but we have acquired, but we could do more. But we thought, okay, in this time, especially with the contribution of the young planners of this institute, why not we kind of invite our own people rather than we get experiences and also advisors and different advocacies from people from the other world, well-known people. But there may be a lot of people who are Sri Lankan in origin and those who have got trained in Sri Lanka and those who have practiced in Sri Lanka. I'm sure that they have a lot of things to contribute and a lot of things to share with us. So the one, especially those who work in Sri Lanka and work abroad. So they might be having some kind of comparative knowledge, what's been happening here and also how the things are happening there and what are the similarities, what are the things that we can share for the common benefit of everyone. So that's why we thought, okay, this time we, rather than inviting some well-known speakers from outside planning arena, so why not we invite our own planners, those who work outside. They have something to share with us. They have some knowledge and some comparison of what's happening here and what's happening there and how we can improve. And not to criticize. Certainly we told them, but we don't want to kind of criticize what's happening here. But we want to make sure that we can gain something, we can pick from something from there and adopt it here so that our planning practice can be better. So let's plan for better tomorrow for planning in Sri Lanka. That's why we selected this theme. And where we are now, of course, let's reflect back on our own experiences and our own situations here. And let's think about the future where we can be better than what we are now. So that's the kind of theme that we have selected for this time session. And with that, we have invited three our own planners, Planner Sumana Wijerathna, Planner Srimali Mellawa, and Planner Wickrama Abeysinghe. So they will be sharing with us their own ideas and their own insights and their own kind of best practices that we can adopt here. So that let's take them positive and let's get them assimilated into our thinking, our thought processes, and our own actions as well, so that we can think of a better planning for tomorrow. So that's how it should be. And with that, I wish that this session is going to be a kind of fruitful one, and we have organized it in a different mode as well, because first of all, we'll be kind of getting the experiences and sharing the experiences with us. And also after that, we try to have an interactive session with them and with our members so that we can develop our own insights. That is how it will be going. So thank you very much for everyone, those who have worked hard towards making this event a success, especially the event coordination committee and also the young planners, the young members of this institute, and our resource person joining with us from abroad. And let's enjoy this time and let's make it a fruitful event, and so that the outcome will be a fruitful one as well. And thank you very much. I wish all success for this event.
All right. Thank you very much, Jagat sir, for delivering the welcome speech. And next, we are moving to the session. All right. So it's all about finding where are we and where we can be. And let's find it by listening to our own voices. All right. So in this year's session, we'll be conducting it as an interactive session on virtual platform with Sri Lankan town planners working in Australia and Canada for sharing experience and picking up good practices that can be adapted for the improvement of professional practices in Sri Lanka. So we have invited 3 expertise in this particular field, planners from Australia and as well as Sri Lankan planners from Australia and as well as Canada. So let me introduce our resource persons. First, I would like to introduce planner Sumana Wijerathna. She's all the way from Canada, and planner Wickrama Abeysinghe. He's all the way from Australia. And also we have another planner from Australia, planner Srimali, Mellawa. So these 3 resource persons will guide today's session. So first of all, I will briefly give an idea about how the session will be conducted. So first, we'll invite each of these resource persons to deliver a 20-minute session. So they will share their experience. So then we'll move on to an interactive session. So we have 3 main thematic, 3 main themes in this particular annual session. So the first theme is managing political intervention in decision making. Second theme is increasing productivity amidst resource scarcity. And the third theme is learning from community for better planning. So mainly focusing these 3 particular areas. Our resource persons from Australia and Canada will share their thoughts. So I think now it's the time to invite our first resource person to share their experience. So Disha.
Mr. Hanna, with that, we'll start the panel presentations with planner Sumana Wijerathna. With her first degree in geography and postgraduate degrees both in rural and urban planning, joined the USA in 1985. She worked there for 17 years and then left for Canada. She formed her own consulting firm and partnered with the Sustainable Cities International Canada for 8 years. She also did urban design certificate program in Canada. Her recent specialization has been in sustainable development, new urban search. Her special focus is community environmental planning and management. She spends her time mostly as a freelance writer. Planner Sumana Wijerathna, we warmly welcome you to the annual session of the Institute of Town Planners, Sri Lanka, and it's high time for you to take over the session. Planner Sumana.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. It's nice to see the young planners as well as most our senior planners here. I see the names. I appreciate the opportunity given to me to address this session, to share my experience as a planner who gained experience working in Sri Lanka and in Canada. Today, we have 3 areas to talk: managing political intervention in decision-making, increasing productivity amidst resource scarcity, learning from the community for better planning. Let's talk about the first theme, politics. What is politics? I remember once One of our professors said, planning is politics. At that time, I was not able to fully understand what it is. The reason behind that was I did not know what the politics exactly meant. By politics, I meant, until recently, as most of us know, the party politics, power, and the government. But the true meaning of politics is not that. Humans are a political creature. Humans live as groups, but within these groups, there exist vast differentiations. Each human is different from one another. Their needs, attitudes, actions, abilities, and potentials, and everything are different. Being such diverse human beings with complex needs, we must share one common space that may be a house, a road, an apartment complex, neighborhood, playground, parks, and cities. Those diverse needs must be compromised to come to a one common ground. Politics is planning, is how to share one such common space by compromising all these diverse needs, ideas, and attitudes with least complexities. As planners, our responsibility is to accommodate those diverse human needs in a favorable way that they are not harmful to each other. This is why we formulate planning standards, rules, and regulations. Once we understand this reality, this political reality, and our role, it will be much easier to manage the political interferences coming from the party politics and power structure. In Canada, as you all know, we have three distinct political levels: federal, provincial, and local. Federal is mainly interprovincial infrastructure such as pipelines, federal taxes. Provinces handle most of the intra-provincial services and utilities such as health, education, and infrastructure. Planning and development, city-level infrastructure, and urban security is totally done by, and the social services are totally done by local level city councils. Planning and development regulations of all 21 municipalities in the Vancouver metropolitan region are gazetted as official community plan, OCPs, we call them. Almost all planning standards are old and rigid. Rezoning application procedure is very lengthy and expensive, money as well as time-wise. When such changes are approved, the changes become a bylaw. Each and every change become a bylaw. Planning clearance applications are given high priority in getting public concerns and opinions. Notice boards are displayed in such premises with details. Residents of the neighborhood can see and provide their objections and concerns. Planning review is done based on such concerns. It is very rare that developers complain to the mayors or the councillors for rejections. If such appeals are done, they hold application review meetings with all parties present, but no violations are done at all. To tell you the truth, that there is no party politics interferences to any individual planning clearance or building application in this region. But there are compelling political needs for a change in the city where I am living. It's called Surrey. Surrey has been at the least expensive city in this region, where there are 10,000 new residents added to the city population annually. Needs for affordable residential building, parks, playgrounds, and community amenities and build is critical, especially because over 100 ethnic minorities live here. Most of them are low-income families, mainly new immigrants. This means the political pressure to provide these amenities in the right place is huge. Planning is to understand and analyze these challenges before the party politics come into play. Surrey planners responded to these needs early. Clayton Heights Neighborhood Development Plan is one example. In the past, Surrey city consists of primarily single-family residential zone, ranging from 40 perch to 60 perch in extent, each plot, half-acre residential zone, 1 acre residential zone, and agricultural zone, and all other kind of zones, public and commercial, right? Residential units were overly expensive for low-income and lower middle-income families. Clayton village is a counter-magnet of growth where most affordable townhouse complexes and apartment complexes are allowed with schools, parks, playgrounds, and other community services and amenities. Regulations were relaxed and gazetted to accommodate this demand. As such, the city of Surrey is famous for the most attractive and affordable residential housing market in the region. This example is to show how planners address the community needs professionally. Surrey developers or any community in Surrey did not require to go to any MLA or any member of the council for any kind of complaints against planners. These planners do not let their clients wander around the politicians' doorstep. Incidents of bribery have never been reported in this region. I know the political interferences in Sri Lanka are totally different. However, if planners respond to community needs professionally earlier than the party politics come into play, is the only way to minimize possible political interferences. This is something I'm going to raise today. Let's go to the next concern, increasing productivity in resource scarcity. This is something we must compare between Canada and Sri Lanka. Here, I will limit my example to the human resources only. ITPSL has around 400 planners to deal with 22 million people in Sri Lanka. Canadian Association of Planners has over 7,500 planners to deal with 34 million people. In addition, cities have building technicians, architects, and environmental specialists working for planning-related functions. Even with this much of human resources, special area plans are done by private sector planning organizations. I am not going to discourage you by providing this information. I would like to bring to your attention one of my experience to showcase how I dealt with this challenging situation when I was a young planner in Sri Lanka. As you all know, the size of Anuradhapura City Council area is equal to the Colombo City area. I was the only planner there. The Sacred City development activity was under my responsibility in addition to the planning tasks. At that time, we had to survey and relocate 1,500 unauthorized housing units in the Sacred City developers area. Then I told the mayor that I can't do that all alone. Then we discussed how to do that, and then we talk about getting 10 students from the technical college as an intern to do this survey. Within 1 month, we completed the survey. I think these kinds of opportunities are still there in Sri Lanka as well. Volunteering is a big thing in Canada, even for school children. Volunteer opportunities are compulsory to get hands-on experience. Advisory committees is another thing. This is in Canada, this is done, it's working effectively. It's functioning in every city. Planners can suggest appointing volunteer members from the community as well as from the community organizations for advisory committees, mainly for planning and environmental management. I think you have that. Planners can suggest, something I can also suggest to this forum is that the regional offices of UDA can pool the resources to complete one development plan of one particular city. We have been doing that earlier. Also, we know there are tremendous human resources wasted at the local level, such as development officers and so on. Why not trying to get their services for planning related functions locally? So the last one is learning from the community for better planning. In Canada, both community involvement in planning and community awareness in planning are done during the neighborhood community plan proceeding at the beginning to the end. Series of community meetings are organized to discuss the community issues and concerns. This is the place where planners begin to accommodate community concerns. Physical aspects are accommodated to such plans together with the community concerns. During the past, physical planning was done by planners, and the plans so prepared were to be open for public objections for 60 days, according to the Act. Updating these public objections are very vaguely done or not done. We know our senior planners. This level of public objections was sarcastically mentioned in a novel I read. That name was Hitchhiker's Journey to the Galaxy. Our planet must be dismantled under the Interstellar Highway Development Project, where humans of the planet are not aware of this project. However, when questioned about that, alien project planners said that the plan was hanging somewhere in the universe for public objections over 2 years, and therefore human can't deny that the fact that they don't know about this project. So that was exactly the situation in the past during 80s and 90s. Most of the plans are in our drawers. I hope the situation in Sri Lanka has drastically changed in the 21st century. Integrated planning has to encompass community concerns at a greater level, and that is why the area plans are called neighborhood community development plans in Canada. Today, the technology and communication networks make it easier and faster for the community to reach and provide their concerns and opinions. Surrey City Council use all the social media platforms, mainly Facebook groups, for each and every aspects in the city planning and community development. City development plans with all details are available to the public over their websites. Plans and regulations both. People can post their concerns, comments, and objections on it. Today, our planners have tremendous opportunities to use the social media platforms to involve the community in planning and decision making, as well as raise community awareness in planning. I would like to add one of the community comment made by the concerned citizen of this Eastern province in the ITPSL Facebook page for your attention. Dear planners, non-existence of physical plan and its implementation at local authority, particularly in Eastern province of Sri Lanka, make the situation worse. Planners are polarizing in western part of the country and highly focusing on macro level plan. Since haphazard development peak at momentum in the local level, enforcement of planning regulations are impossible at local authority level in highly congested urban areas, as planning agencies are too late in effectively implementing the regulation at the beginning of the development. Better concentrate on newly emerging towns and make Sri Lankan cities secured and well planned by Muhammad Asif. I cut and paste it in my presentation, assuming why not use the community concern as asset in planning. Thank you very much. I think my time is over now.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, Planner Sumana, Wijerathna, for sharing your valuable information. So it was a very thought-provoking session. So I think next is time to invite the our second resource person, So before introducing our resource person, I'll give a brief description about him. So he has completed his bachelor's degree with a Bachelor of Science in State Management and Valuation at University of Sri Wijerathna, Sri Lanka. Then he completed his MSc in Town and Country Planning at University of Moratuwa. And he has completed his second MSc in Urban and Regional Planning at University of South Australia. He's the principal planner and the founder of the ANC Planning Consultants. Also, he has been working as a town planner for the past 12 years at Australian local authorities. He served for the Warrnambool City Council, Mornington Shire Council, Whitehorse City Council. Currently, he's a member of the Victorian Planning and Environmental Law Association, as well as the Planning Institute of Australia. He was also a member of Institute of Town Planners, Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Planner Wickrama Abeysinghe. Dear sir, the platform is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you see me? Hello.
Yes.
Yes, we can see you.
Right. It is actually a great pleasure to see you all this morning in Sri Lankan time. Here we are around 3:45 now. First of all, may I start by thanking Professor Jagat Munasinghe, the president of the ITPSL, for the invitation to speak to you all in this annual session titled, Where Are We and Where Do We Want to Be? It is really timely topic, and you all know where are you, and you know where you want to be. Let's see how we can help you to come to this target. From my end, it's a great pleasure to address you after 15 years. I remember my last address to you all, some of you all, around mid-2006, when we started the Young Planners Forum. At the same day, I got the visa to come to Australia. But anyway, it's a pleasure to address you all after 15 years. And also, I'm very glad to share my Australian experiences, specifically the planning experiences, with you for the advancement of town planning in Sri Lanka. As many of you already know, I think the introductory part was noted that I was a former employee of the Urban Development Authority and a member of the ITPSL until 2006. It is glad to know that I'm still a member. It's really fantastic to hear that. Thanks for that. And I migrated to Australia in 2006, and since I have been working in local government and private sector as a town planner. As again, was noted that I'm a member of Planning Institute of Australia and Victoria Planning and Environmental Law Association. Those are the two main planning and environmental law organization that provides valuable contribution to the planning profession across the country. In this part of the session, this 15-minute session, I'm going to provide you with a general overview of Australian planning system and political perspectives of planning decision making. Please be noted, my detailed focus in the next session is around the political influence on planning, not planners. Don't misunderstand. It's about the planning, not just planners. Planners included in planning, however, focus is on planning decisions, not individual planners. Let's see how, before that, let's see how the Australian administration system works, right? Australia is a country with three-tier government system: federal, state, as Ms. Sumana said, federal, state, and local government. Federal government has responsibilities including defense, telecommunication, postal services, and immigration. And there are many more, but these are some of them to note here. The state government has responsibilities including the police, example, Victoria Police in our state, transport, we call Vic Transport, Vic Track, Vic Roads, and planning in here in Victoria, Department of Planning, Department of Environment and the like, including health and education. The local government, which is similar to Sri Lankan system, we call Nagara Sabha, Pradeshiya Sabha, we have councils, urban councils, and there are another type of councils we call shires. They are a bit rural, and both local government areas. They have the responsibility to manage waste or rubbish and stuff, leisure, parks, gardens, planning, building, and pet registration. That's one of the big things they're doing in Australia. And there are many more like that they are responsible for. For planning, telecommunication projects and the projects that have an significant impact on nationally significant flora and fauna needs approval from the federal government. That's where the federal government generally interact with planning at local level. Say, example, if you have a project that has an impact on a particular species, it can be a flora or fauna, and then if that particular flora or fauna is registered under the ITPSL Act, that is Environment Protection and Biodiversity Act, that is one of the powerful acts in Australia. So you got to get the approval from the federal government. And also there are telecommunication projects. They all comes under the federal control. So those are the two areas that I so far encountered, but there are many more. But some lands, for example, defense land is completely excluded from local government influence or the state. They are even kind of deleted from the mapping system. So we can't see those lands. Even we can't see the aerial maps. There are certain areas like that. And the role of the state government includes the preparation, amending, planning legislation like Planning and Environment Act 1987, Environmental Protection Act, and the like. And also approving the planning scheme amendments, like we in Sri Lankan context, we have development plans. In Australia, specifically in Wickrama, we have planning schemes. So the power of amending those schemes with the state is vested with the state government. The council do a lot of work, but the final approval need to come from the Minister for Planning. So that's and also there are some specific projects that are significant for the state, also comes under the minister's jurisdiction. So the minister can either reject or approve those kind of projects. That's kind of a role that the state government do. In addition, the state departments like the environmental, road, and the railway, that's called Wickrama, and water, and there are many government departments control the approval processes on those subject matters, right? And then there is another department called Heritage. We call Heritage Affairs Victoria. They're a very powerful organization. If you have a local project, you must get an approval from those agencies. They are generally under the planning scheme. They're called determining agencies, otherwise determining referral authorities. If they say no, nobody can change it, you're done. The planning application is refused. So they're very powerful. Another area they control is native vegetation. If the native vegetation is specific vegetation, not the one I previously described about the federal one, these are state one. If the native vegetation is state significant, then the State Department of Environment, that's now part of the planning department, has full authority to yes or not. And again, gambling, gaming, and liquor, they're all controlled by the state government. But you can handle the local application. However, when you get the approval, you must follow their regulatory requirements. Then comes the local government, which is council level. They are responsible for the administration and enforcement of a planning scheme. As I mentioned, the planning scheme is very similar to the UDA's development plan. Each local government authority has its own planning scheme. I can show you later at our general session what is a planning scheme looks like and the content and all those things. And however, there are certain limitation that a local government can handle those planning scheme. Although it has the administration and enforcement power, the previously mentioned Department of Planning and the Minister for Planning has the full authority when planning schemes are amended to say yes or not. So that's one of the big power vested with the Minister for Planning, and he has a Department of Planning. So those two agencies, the Minister's Office and the Department of Planning, they control if somebody, either local government or a private individual, we call project proponent, want to change a certain area of a planning scheme, even a minor change, even a change to a color of a property. So there is a long process to follow. That means the minister has full authority. And also there are certain times the projects that are state significant, like a major road projects or any projects that deliver a lot of jobs or economic return, and then the minister can take over those projects and give approval, fast tracked. Currently, we have some projects around Altona in Melbourne, sitting very next to the city of Melbourne. So the project is a private project. However, minister took over the project from the local government, the city of Melbourne, for approval process, because that has billions of worth jobs and economic return. So that in that situations, minister becomes the planning authority. And also sometimes minister become the responsible authority, like a local government. They play the same role, but it's specifically gazetted and taken over. So therefore has a lot of powers. I think UD had similar power in the past from memory. The Victoria planning system has two main divisions. Right? If you come bit down to the planning system, it has a strategic planning section and also statutory planning. So the strategic planning means we are not actually making planning schemes or development plans because they are already there. So what we are doing is amending those plans. So the amendment process are generally fallen under the strategic planning division of a local government. So the other part, that means again amending current planning schemes under strategic planning. And the statutory planning is something very similar to the role of giving a permit in simple terms. So the planning, statutory planning mean you lodge a planning application for use and development, and then there is a certain process that I can explain in a second. So that's called statutory planning. I'm going to quickly show you the general structure of a Is it okay if I share the screen, admin? Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. I'm sharing one slide from the second session. So this is a kind of, can everyone see? I hope that you can see. So this is a planning scheme, right? So it's a big document. It's 1,000+ pages and a lot of amendments, attachment and so many things, maps and things. So the maps are not included in this one. They are separate documents on the website now. So there's no any maps included here other than the specific ones, small ones. But if you see this content page, user guide, that means how to use the scheme, state planning policy. This is one which is generally about the state significance. And the green one is a local one, which is one the local government made for they're suitable for the local area. That's why they call local planning policy framework. So this sits under this one. And then you got zoning like residential, commercial and things like that. And also there are a number of schedules under each zone, right? So if you got residential, you got 5 schedule depending on the location significance. And also we got overlays. Overlays has schedules too. And then particular provision. These are kind of another kind of additional control over certain project. Like if you got a residential land, sometimes you have to go under this control and plus this control. So depending on the circumstances. And you got general provision. They kind of a general provisions applicable to all the applications generally to check certain things. And then we got another section called all the definitions. There is no any misunderstanding about the terminology that we use in this part. So they got definitions, and then we got incorporated document. These incorporated documents are additional support documents to enforce these set of provisions. And then recently this section was added to the planning scheme called Wickrama. So this is a fast track. If that actually for minor projects that need approval. So this is a Wickrama project. It is a 10 business day turnaround. So if you lodge, you need to decide, you mean the council need to decide in 10 days. So then finally, the list of amendment, which is the one I mentioned, strategic planning. So that's a general overview. And in the next slide, quickly, I'm going to show you about, so this is the second part about how a plan scheme is amended. So I'm not sure 100% you are clearly visible, right? However, requesting an amendment, it can be a government government department or another government department, can be a local authority, or private person can make a request to the minister. And then the minister
Excuse me,
consider.
Planner Wickrama.
Yeah.
Will it be possible for you to put presentation slideshow mode on?
Slideshow. Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah. Now it's more visible.
More parable. Yeah. Right. Okay. Right. The first box in that, as I mentioned, the proponent, it can be a local authority, a government department, or any private person can make a request to the Minister for Planning to make some changes to planning scheme. So in this one, this is very, very quick one. There are a lot of processes, but I'm going to show you very quickly because of the time constraints. So in this section, they consider whether notification to the public is required or not. In certain projects, they don't need, then it's going this way, full exemption and going to decision making. If there is notification required, there are processes to follow. And there are a lot of objections. There are planning panels and all those things to be happening here, right? Either case is coming to coming back and decide to adopt mean by council, right? It comes to council again, then the council meeting, like the monthly meeting, need to adopt that one, and then decided sometimes yes, otherwise refuse. If it is refused, the amendment is completely abandoned. And if it is okay, then it's going this way. Finally, everything's done here, adaptation and all the, a lot of work's done. There are a lot of processes to follow here on each boxes. Fine, it goes back to the Minister for Planning for approval. Again, even though it is a good one, the minister has the full power to approve or reject. So that's how usually happen. Then it is gazetted or published on publicly available, so that it becomes an active amendment. So that's the very simplest format, right? I'm going to go back to unshare, stop sharing, right? So that's a kind of a snapshot of how planning scheme are amended. And turning to this today's topic, managing political intervention in decision making assigned to me, in fact, we as Australian planners acknowledge the role of our elected representative. We don't reject. We understand how politics operate and how politicians think. However, it is always timely in this kind of forum for us to talk with you about the thorny relationship between planning and politics, and to learn some of our experience here in Australia in managing political intervention in Sri Lankan decision making. As Ms. Planner Sumana mentioned, it's itself politics, but we know what this means is, right? Based on our experience here in Australia, I'm of the view that various actions should be designed to restore community confidence in the planning profession, provide planning leadership, and create proactive planning regimes in Sri Lanka. I believe we read papers the community confidence in planning decision is kind of a detached now for a long time. It's not anyone's fault, it's the fault in the system. In Australia, planners do not refuse politicians. I never see a planner or planning profession say we don't need politicians, but we do not refuse politicians. As much as we can complain about politics, we suspect, that means we mean Australian planners suspect most of us would not swap the privilege of living in a democratic society for the alternatives, or readily forget the opportunity of having a vote on who govern our country or region or our local authority. So therefore we need them. However, one of the criticism in Australia, I'll share it later, what is it? But there is a one criticism is the politicians' inability to see beyond the next electoral cycle. They also like here 5-year circle. So their target is to get something done within the 5 years. So therefore they very rare people mean the politicians think beyond their circle. However, it is not a problem. We believe this is becoming a problem more, or otherwise this becomes more acute when dealing with 25 years or 50 years growth target. I remember when I was in Sri Lanka, the Victorian government introduced Melbourne 2030 around 2003 from memory. So it is it's a big plan, about 25-year plan. So had a lot of issues because of their lack of understanding beyond that electoral circle. So what can we do? That's the question for today. As planners, there are a number of things that we can do to help maintain the necessary balance between procedural certainty and political flexibility to ensure that impact of political actions, be they legislative changes or imposed growth targets, do not affect our ability to deliver truly sustainable development. So this is what we need. So the PIA, Planning Institute of Australia, suggests the following. They may not be relevant to you at this stage as it is, but when we go to the room, we'll talk little in detail what is in there. So their principles are recognize the political drivers. If you are aware of the political landscape, that means who are the politicians, where they come from, why they come from, what's their aspiration and things like, because we know their targets, but you will be able to better understand of how development is likely to be approved, when and where. So the next principle the PIA suggests is keep your eyes on the big picture. Talking to the planners. Planners are required to plan for all, like the small people or the big people, rich people, we need to do all. Like example, now in Victorian planning system is more focusing on, we don't have very poor people like in Sri Lanka, but they're now more focusing on affordable housing. That means their target is to give a house or to provide access to everybody to have a house. So therefore, the target is covering a lot of people who can't afford a house. You know, in Victoria, Australia, housing price is very high, so people can't afford. So they're trying to address that target. That's why the planners need to plan for all. Therefore, take a collaborative approach. That's what PIA says to us, collaborative approach when negotiating an outcome, either strategic planning that I mentioned earlier, or statutory planning. That is a planning approval process. Planners need to be aware each level of government, this is critically important, federal, state, and the local, as they may have different agendas. You know that ministers of the federal has completely different agenda like the state, and also the local members have different agendas. Therefore, the planners need to be very well aware about their level of government. This is really important when you go to a planning scheme. I mean, not like amending planning. However, in both sections, we are advised by PIA to consider those things. And the next one they are saying is be part of the conversation. Generally, political mandates derive from the local communities who voted for those politicians. So they're sometimes they are pretending, but normally, in theoretically, their ideas coming from the community. That's why they are there. So therefore, we need to understand that. and involvement with community at early stage, specifically when you're doing planning scheme amendment, is critically important rather than waiting for the last minute. So that's one of the things PIA suggests. And finally, the PIA suggests be an advocate. I think as as planners from University of Moratuwa, we learn about planning theory. Advocacy and pluralism are remembered still. So this is where the advocacy comes. In Australia, planning is quite often used as a scapegoat. Scapegoat means always get blamed by the media and politicians to explain something has happened. So usually this comes if there is a failure in a road network or a building approval or environmental issue or something like that, the planning profession get blamed, not individual planners. The planning profession get blamed. Therefore, PIA emphasize us to make our own voice heard and offer counter arguments. We are not going to be silent, not just like talking to the media, but there is a process that we can do. Right? They can't simply blame. The PIA has a big role of fighting for those arguments. And also PIA says to the planners in the public sector, specifically those who in the local government, provide the best advice to your politicians based on sound evidence. I emphasize that word, sound evidence. That's one of the main beautiful thing in Australian planning system. Even if it is a simple application for a fence, for example, in a local government, the decision is based on a sound evidence, right? So all those documents are there. So therefore, nobody can change the decision. Therefore, it is one of the specific thing that PI say.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, I'm nearly finished.
Extremely sorry for the inconvenience. We are running out of time.
Yeah, 2 minutes.
The given time is over, sir.
2 minutes, is that okay?
Yeah, we'll give you 2 minutes.
That's yeah, I'm nearly finished already. Therefore, another thing they said, particularly be frank and fearless. I think fearless, we all need to wear fearless in the job, or we actually fearless, right? I can give you the example when we go to the room. In the next room panel session, I'm going to briefly explain the Victoria planning system briefly and provide a base for the discussion. I will identify areas where the politicians have a chance to influence in our system, Australian system, and decision making. And finally, I will show you the current strategies in place to minimize such influences. So you can get some, you can apply them in Sri Lanka if you can. And next part of that session, I'm going to explain what's the role of the Planning Institute of Australia in managing political influences on planning decisions. So in particularly how PIA directs the politician to the right direction in planning decision making. So some of the initiative you can use in Sri Lanka through ITPSL. Well, I'm finished. Thank you for listening. And I think I run out of time. Otherwise, we can leave some time for quick question or two. However, thanks for organizing this event.
All right, thank you very much, Planner Wickrama, for your inspirational thoughts. With that, we can move to the third and the last presentation today with Planner Srimali Mellawa. With her first degree in State Management and Valuation from University of Wijerathna, and with her master's degree in Town and Country Planning from University of Moratuwa, she has more than 12 years of experience in planning in Sri Lanka and more than 9 years of experience in statutory planning in Australia. Planner Srimali Mellawa, while welcoming you to the annual session of the Institute of Town Planners Sri Lanka, I would like to hand over the session to you. It's high time for you to take over the session. Planner Srimali.
Hello, yes. Good morning to all of you. Can you see me? I don't know. I think that everyone can see me. So thank you for inviting me for this session. And I am really glad to be part of this annual sessions of ITPSL. And yeah, I think that everyone got a little bit of a introduction of me. So I've been working in Sri Lanka in UDA, and now in Australia for almost 10 years, and I'm working for the local government of Australia. So after thanking you, I think that Wickrama covered a lot of information and widely, briefly described how the planning system in Australia works and what are the levels of the planning system, how actually it works in those 3 levels. I think that it's a very, very comprehensive system, and the beauty of it is it's really very strong, and it's been, how could I say, it's really broadly thought about every little bit of detail, what actually we should manage from planning. It is not like planning manage everything in Australia, but I would say that planning is the foundation for the development. From planning, actually, it starts. When you give approval to a project, that is the start of the development, that is contributing to the economic development. It starts and it contributes to the social structure of the society, and it actually minimizes the conflicts between competing interests. It starts from planning. So planning actually gives a lot of solutions to the issues that we face down the track. So it gives a strong base to the development in this country. So if you go to at least Google Street View, you can see a very orderly, maintained properties. So you can see the properties when you come to the country first. When we actually come to Sri Lanka, we come from mainly Katunayake airport, and we see the country from there on. So in Australia, you see the country from the properties that you see. And I think planners should be very proud in Australia that that is the base is planning. So today's topics, they're very broad, I think. We can't actually give information about all those 3 in a session like this, and we can't discuss a lot of things. But I think that we can briefly discuss about what we are doing here. That's what actually I thought that will be beneficial to the planners, especially. I can see that there are a lot of participants in here, almost 300. That is really, really a big opportunity to speak to the fellow planners in Sri Lanka. Like 300 planners is a lot. So I think, like, if we can narrow down our talks to what we are doing in Australia and what planners could take from our experience, it would be beneficial and productive. So as Wickrama covered the structure of the planning system in Australia, I would actually like to talk more about what we are doing in Australia. Actually, we work to the local authority level, and local authority level is the administrator of these planning schemes. Planning scheme is like equal to the development plans in Sri Lanka. So we are the ones actually administering these controls day to day within our jurisdiction, within our area as well. So I think that I would emphasize what I am doing, and I would actually give some idea about the productivity. And I would say that our system itself actually achieve this objective of productivity. We are actually not given any other tools to achieve productivity. The system itself, the planning system itself actually achieve this objective. So I would emphasize in my presentation to this I think, what do you call it, the interactive sessions or whatever you call it. I would like to actually give a little bit more details about what we are doing here and how it works and how it actually achieves the productivity in itself. I think that I would not take more of your time in this introductory part. I would talk to you more in details in the interactive sessions. Thank you very much.